Annie, thank you for trusting me with your beloved community. It was really an honor and a pleasure to be here with everyone who participated this weekend. And I also honor the fact that pretty much on Thursday night, people are stepping into a situation and a circumstance that they didn't really know what they were stepping into. Such as it is, the level of participation in this community is powerful and very present. Then after Thursday evening, we went on with a group of 12 Friday night and all day Saturday to create what is called the New Minister Co-Creation Covenant. And at the end of the service today, it'll be up on the screen, and we will have an opportunity to read it out loud together. And I'll share a few more thoughts about that. Having said all of that for right now, maybe we could turn it down just a little bit. Having said all of that, I would like to share some thoughts with you around the power of invitation. The power of invitation is the title of my message today. And recently I had an experience where I was invited by a dear friend of mine. I was invited into a community, a situation that I had a little bit of apprehension about going to. And so my friend who invited me casually, I think she is a good enough friend, a close enough friend, that she knew I might have some apprehension about it. And when she made the invitation, she just kind of just plopped it out there, and busy doing something else, and I heard it, and she didn't look at me, and I went like that, and went home, and I think maybe I said maybe, if anything. So the next day, she sent me a text, and she shared with me what she was going to be doing at this event, and in a text. And I read it, and I thought, oh, wow, it's important to her for me to be there. And I felt special. I felt important to her. I felt that my presence possibly made a difference to her. I thought, she wants to share this with me. She's sharing with me something that is important to her. And all of those thoughts and feelings that were associated with those thoughts diminished my apprehension to go. And so I made the decision that I was going to go, and it was really a wonderful opportunity. But on the day that I got the text, I thought, there's something really important going on here. There is power in an invitation. So I have given that some thought, and I would like to share some spiritual ideas and some bigger ideas that may be meaningful to you around the power of invitation. I also know, because each one of you is here You got here somehow, right? And I think back to my experience in 1984 when a friend of mine recognized what a mess I was. And and said to me, "You need to come to church with me." And she didn't say it in a judgmental way. Again, she was a very good friend, and yeah, she knows. And she had to say it a few times until I was willing to go. But in this case, I was desperate. So my desire to go was led by desperation, where in the more recent circumstance, my desire to go was led by being inspired that someone wanted to share something that they valued with me. Very different experience. But I marvel and acknowledge what an amazing journey life is, that we never know where an invitation is going to lead us. So I had no idea what to expect when I was invited to step into this church experience, because my friend thought I was a mess, and I knew I was a mess. And so hence I went, and here I am. That was 1984. And I've had an opportunity, obviously, since then to do a lot of growth. And to the places that show up in me now and then that are still a mess, I use those as opportunities, and to invite that part of me to step into, a higher level of, hey, Christine, you are more than you think you are. Now, as a minister, having served in a full-time position at the Chico Center for 10 years, and then going this little ways away from home, from Chico to Yuba City, to start a center from scratch. I've had a lot of experiences in churches where we've done Bring a Friend Sunday and encouraged people in the congregation to invite friends. So I want to share something with you, and possibly you have heard this before. And this is from a website called Leadership Tips, and it's called The Power of an Invite. 6 to 8% of people walked in by their own initiative. 2 to 3% liked a program or a workshop that was offered. 8 to 10% liked the pastor or the senior minister or the spiritual leader. 3 to 4% had a need met by the church. 1 to 2%, it says, were evangelized. So I was thinking, well, what would that be for our teaching? And it would just strictly be that, some concepts or principles were shared, or said, hey, this spiritual community has in some ways changed my life for the better. I'd like to share it with you. But even in that case, well, they were sharing it and inviting, but it lacked the invitation. That's the point. In the 1 to 2%, concepts or ideas were shared, but it was not connected with an invitation. And then 3 to 4% were attracted because of a youth program. 70 to 85% came because of a personal invitation. That's huge. 70 to 85%. So I invite you, and maybe you already are, thinking about how you got here. If an invitation is so powerful and so impactful, why are we conditioned to be apprehensive of inviting? And where in our personal lives do we invite the greater yet to be the part of us that thinks that we're not powerful, that we're not loving, that we're not capable, the part of us that thinks we're inadequate in some way. So there are many different kinds of invitations that are going on in our life. So why are we conditioned to forget about inviting the part of ourselves that feels small? And why are we conditioned to be apprehensive about inviting others to things that we care about and value? And in this case, our spiritual community. So I pondered that, and I gave that some thought in terms of my own personal experience. And what came up for me is that that maybe I, on the surface, thought, well, I don't want to put anybody else in an uncomfortable position. I don't want to invite them and have them feel like they really don't want to go, but they're going to hurt my feelings, or just put them in the position where they couldn't be honest about it. And then I thought back to the experience that I had and what came up for me about her sharing. And I also thought, well, maybe I don't invite others because I'm fearful of being rejected. Or maybe I might find out from them that they don't believe the same way that I do, that they don't value what I do. So it all depends upon the relationship with the person. In the case of my mother, who some of you met at the retreats, I invited her to things, and she went because I'm her daughter. But I want to share with you that her life was enhanced, and her life was changed because of that invitation. And she had the opportunity to be loved and appreciated by so many more people because of that invitation. When we invite in any circumstance, we are sharing something that we really value with others. Now, one of the very clear principles of the science of mind is that spirit, divine mind, infinite intelligence awaits our recognition of it. And that, the reference, the still small voice. But we know that there's something within us being stirred by being uncomfortable, being pulled by desperation, or being pushed by desperation, but being pulled by inspiration. That there's something that we're looking for. And I'm sure that you've all heard the various forms of that story that says the principle, the idea, the very love, the power, the truth of our being is planted in the innermost depths of our being and waits for our recognition. Waits for right timing. Waits for a desire for something more, waits for us to be in circumstances and situations that we feel desperate. Many people over the weekend mentioned that, when I'm brought to my knees, when I can no longer do it by my own hand, when I've tried and tried to do it myself, and I come to the place that I'm ready to, that I am willing to say, I can't do this. Nothing's working. Every door is closing. That still small voice says, hello, I'm here. There's something more. Don't give up on yourself. And then it usually asks us to change doesn't it? Yep. Ouch. It usually asks us to look at what it is that we are believing about ourselves instead. There's a Sufi story that tells of a man who was overcome with sorrow about the condition of the world. Anybody relate? He was so distraught that he sat on the earth and he pounded on the earth, saying, "God, why are you allowing this? Why haven't you done something?" And after expressing himself, he sat for a moment just in the resonance of his own pain and his own sorrow. And from the depths of his being, in silence, he heard this still small voice say, "I did something. I sent you." So sometimes the invitation is not about others. There are times that the invitation comes from that still small voice within us. And it is there that it's been very comforting to me to remember this from Ernest Holmes. To suppose that the creative intelligence of the universe would create human beings in bondage and then leave us bound with no greater options would be to dishonor the creative power that we call God. And to suppose that God could make man as an individual without leaving human beings to discover themselves would be to suppose an impossibility. Individuality, because we are individuals, because we have been created with choice, it can't be automatic. And so that seed of power, that seed of wisdom, that seed of having whatever it takes to meet the next step of our experience is planted within us. And it's our freedom that allows us the opportunity to choose rather than to be automatons. The seed of freedom, Dr. Holmes writes, is planted, yet each of us must make the great discovery for ourselves. Oh, so well. That's all right. You could turn it on. Yeah. So, thank you. See, I got so into what I was saying. Probably don't even need that. Use this. Okay. Recording. Okay. So, the invitation. Just want to share with you the definition. Where did it go? No, I can't see. The invitation. Synonyms for the word invitation. To encourage. And I invite you to think of this first and foremost for yourself, but also for others. To encourage. An invitation can also be a provocation. An invitation can be a temptation. An invitation can be a lure. An invitation can entice us. An invitation is to attract. So isn't it amazing to think that there is this still small voice within us that is awaiting our recognition of this something greater, and yet that something greater is what we are as an individualized expression of God. Now, in the new minister co-creation process, on Thursday evening, the group came together with the intention of remembering and or learning some spiritual principles, The group came together to have a deeper look into what the error beliefs that show up in our consciousness, in our awareness, in our ability to create in our life as blocks and obstacles. That was the invitation. And the invitation was laid out in a covenant of intentions that we read in the beginning. Here's why we are here. And then each person had an opportunity to write in their own personal intentions. So we moved along through the evening and through a process that probably at least some of you have done called the Fear to Faith process. We had the opportunity to look at the condition or the experience, i.e., your beloved senior minister, Reverend Lanny, has announced that she's ready to move into a different experience of living. Once a minister, always a minister. Once a part of a community, in some way, shape, or form, always a part of a community. But whether you call it rewire or retire or seeing what's next, I don't know. The point is, a change is coming. And, you know, one of the ways that we react to change initially when we're not that conscious is fear, apprehension, or just a sense of the unknown, or it's going to be different. And what's it going to mean for me? What is it going to mean for the whole community? And then on Friday night and all day Saturday, the smaller group began to do the work of creating the intentions, and you're going to see that in a few minutes. And so what I want to share with you about this is that the process that you're stepping into you'll have different reactions, different feelings at different times along the way. And you may be in one place at any given time that feels rather tender. And another person might be in a place that feels very optimistic and grounded and powerful and looking forward to the future. One of the things that we looked at over and over again in the co-creation process in different forms is that one of the attitudes of co-creation is compassion. Compassion for others. So it is possible for us to be totally grounded and connected with the power and presence within us that is asking us to stand tall, to be open and receptive, to hear and know what the next steps are. And yet, at the same time, be compassionate and caring and humble in your clarity, in your faith, in your trust, and be willing to listen to other people. We have in our world the opportunity now to really deepen into learning how to listen. We know and we hear all around us the division that is taking place in our country, in our communities, and the difficulty that that all of us are having in how to bridge that divide, how to talk, how to hear, how to listen. And so I want to extend an invitation that I trust in some way the invitation has for you some encouragement, that it's provocative enough, and that it's luring and enticing. An invitation that asks you to begin to use your spiritual community to practice compassion. to be able to listen, especially when what you might be hearing it isn't your viewpoint. And to look beyond that and know that people can almost always find what they value. Common values, shared values, opportunities, newness. This is a powerful time in your community. It's a time to honor what has gone before. It's a time to honor what is happening right now. And it's time to do your own healing work, your spiritual practices, to release what comes up in you that may be a block or an obstacle to newness. And on the other side of that, the invitation is a spiritual community that is stronger, more loving, more clear, more powerful, so that you remember that God sent you. That God sent you to make a difference in this community. That God created you as itself to love, to honor, to heal, and to be open and receptive to that vision within you that heals all things. You're the ones. So let's take a moment to shift gears and I think we're going to have the covenant on the screen, is that right? On the slide? Okay. Pardon? Oh, yes, so we have copies, and I don't know what's going to be easiest for you to read. So if we could have about 4 people pass that out, it'll happen more quickly. So while those are being passed out, a couple of other things that I'd like to share. On Thursday evening, the ones that were here turned in a sheet where there was a list of activities that spiritual communities frequently participate in. And so everybody was asked to choose no more than 2, and also they had the opportunity to write in something else if it wasn't on the list. And so the 2 activities that received the highest number of votes, if you will, number 1 was mystical teachings, and the second one, right below that, is social activism. And so the way that, could I have a copy of that? Oh, I have it, never mind. So the way this is laid out, am I in your way? Okay, all right. So the way this is laid out is that the first part is a scripture verse that was chosen, that the group came into agreement about to represent the intentions for your new minister. The second is the purpose word, which, as you can see, is unity. And then there's a vision. And then we have 3 intentions that are the universal intentions for my new minister, and 2 intentions that are the community intentions for my new minister. And are the personal ones on that sheet? Okay, later. All right. And So let's go through this and read it together. Sierra Center for Spiritual Living, together out loud. What? It says my new minister coming up. Okay, all right. I'll follow you. Empowering our thriving spiritual community. The universal intentions for my new minister are to inspire me to live in unity as an expression of love, to awaken me to the wisdom within, to embody the consciousness of wholeness in community and organization well-being. The community intentions for my new minister are to offer mystical teachings that illuminate the science of mind principles, to be a loving and beneficial presence in the greater community in support of social activism. Okay. The group that worked on this had to first come together in the consciousness of unity for what is wanting to happen in the future, to flow through them in agreement. And each one of them, the principle says that behind each person stands 10 other people. And so they were your representatives. And they will continue to be your representatives. It's a combination of the Board of Trustees and also some of the members of the board and people that are going to serve on the search committee. The most important thing, having read this, that I want to share with you is that each one of you is your new minister. That finding a new minister is not about a knee-jerk reaction to filling what you haven't had or righting any wrongs in the future that took place in the past. That what it's about is empowering you to be the consciousness of these intentions. And then the law of attraction will draw to you someone that lives from those qualities and from those intentions. You will resonate together. You will know who it is when that person shows up for a candidating weekend. On the Sunday down the road, whenever that happens to be, that the membership votes to choose the new minister, you will be so grounded in these intentions. They will be so much a part of your own consciousness and the way that you are living, that you'll be clear in your choice. And that the reason you will be where you are and the reason you are where you are right now is because of everything that has gone before. Because of invitations that have been extended to each one of you to grow, to heal error beliefs, to let go of what no longer serves you, to step into the greater being that you really are. This knows no age, It knows no circumstances, no health challenges, financial challenges, relationship challenges, and yet it serves every single one of those things in your lives. So I want to express my gratitude for working with such high consciousness of a group that is able to represent this congregation in the future and yet be so appreciative, so loving, so honoring of its history. Truly, it's been my pleasure. And I know that this is just beginning for you as you step into the invitation of the covenant for your new minister. Namaste.